Hi, welcome back to the Spirit's Path. This is Dee, and today's tarot card of the day out of the Wildwood Tarot deck is the Page of Stones and the Lynx. And when I was thinking about this card, I was like, okay, we just had the Page of Arrows, the Wren, show up, and now the Lynx shows up. So I've got two pages. Pages are all about, to me they're messengers, but they're also in the court cards. They're also that court person that likes to learn. So they're busy asking questions. They're busy gathering their answers, and I kind of liken them to when I think of the pages is they would be out there with the knights, and when the knight needed something, they would bring it. If they needed a sword, then the page would give it to them. If they needed to run a message, the knight needed to run a message back to the king, that was the page. Okay, he took that message and went back to the king to talk to him. So the pages for me are messengers, but they're also trying to study and understand that application of wanting to be a knight. Okay, now the Page of Stones, and we've talked about stones here for 2 weeks. Okay, it's about materialism, security, stability. The Lynx is a very symbolic of a formidable hunter. All right, so he could track down his prey when he needs to, and he's a very fierce protector, almost like the Queen of Stones, the bear, right? So the other aspect of this is the Lynx is a very hard worker, and it comes on the heels of yesterday's card, that Eight of Stones. Here we've got a hard-working person. This Page of Stones is hard-working as well, and when I have this card laid down, even though he's looking straight at you, his head's pointed toward the past. So he's looking at, the gentleman making, all the tools in that Eight of Stones skill card. Okay, he's very careful in the way he travels through the trees and along the grass. And he's also, he's got that slow energy like most stones do. The horses, the knight, he's slow. The queen, when you think about the bear, they can be fast when they want to, but, they're slow moving. Right, and then the King of Stones, that wolf, he moves that pack at his pace, right? So all the stones energy is slow energy. Okay, now this Lynx, as a person, or you're taking on that aspect, is somebody that's going to have some common sense. Okay, if you're following the GPS and the GPS says to go straight, but that going straight is going to run you off a cliff, your common sense is going to say follow the road to the right. Okay, so this page in Lynx is going to be very common sense oriented. Okay, and not a lot of people have common sense, but if you're in an area and you're doing the work and you need to put something away or something like that, you look for an opportunity to make sure everything's straight. Something on that nature. The Page of Stones and the Lynx is going to be somebody who's very dedicated to their job. They enjoy to learn, just like the Page of Arrows, the Wren. Okay, they like to learn. I'm going to ask some questions. And this Lynx is going to be very authentic. Okay, with his message or her message, however you want to look at it. And they're going to just be down to earth. Okay, Stones is about earth, right? If this is an aspect, just remember the time when you were a beginner doing something. Okay, that's that Page of Stones, that aspect attitude. All right, and somebody that's hey, give me that task. I'm going to be like a tether, a tethered toy in a bulldog, and I'm going to go at that task. I'm going to get this task done. All right, and then I'll take a break, or I'm going to get this task done, and then I'm going to grab a cup of coffee, and then I'll come back and grab the next task. So. The aspect of it is very busybody work. Now, if this is an event, it could be you're in an apprenticeship program, or you're apprenticing for that next step in the promotion or whatever. It's going to take some time to study, and there might be some training going along, with that study time. Okay, so maybe you're working with your boss on, understanding, the department functions and stuff like that, and payroll, and understanding, how to set up a schedule for, the other co-workers. So that's that kind of that aspect of, the event. And the two questions that, this Lynx asks is, what can you learn? In your situation now, with the skill set, what more can you learn around that? We talked yesterday about, Excel spreadsheets and using that in your projects, or using that, at work, maybe even looking at expanding your skill set to, for the mail, PowerPoint, however you want to look at it. And then the other question is, where do you need to be dedicated? If you've got a project coming on and you're not really all on board with it, buckle down, get dedicated, stay like that chew toy with the bulldog. Once you become dedicated and you're just like, let's just get this, done and move forward, then you can go ahead and put your handprint on that project, just like the 8 of Stones skill, right? Now, the aspects with the arrows, Page of Arrows, the Wren, is also, what do you need to learn to overcome? Okay, so as you're learning things, there could be, I don't want to say there's a test. You're always taking tests throughout life, all right? And it's whether it's, fail or pass, right? And, it's, as you get older, it's not about the A, B, C, D, or E, right? It's just like, okay, satisfactory or unsatisfactory. You got to have an 85%. Okay, I'm not going to sweat the small stuff. I'm going to take that test. I'm going to understand, all right? I'm going to be dedicated to studying this. And that's that Page of Stones, that Lynx, aspect of it. Now, the Page of Arrows, the Wren, all right? What do you need to learn to overcome? Okay, maybe you need to take a little bit more time in, learning that payroll for everybody, or learning how to budget, right, for your department or whatnot. And then the other, question that the Page of Arrows asks is, what's the mystery to be solved? There's always a mystery, and that's what keeps the pages youthful, because they're always asking those questions. How do I take that next step forward? Because if the knight goes down, all right, the knight may tell the page, pick up the sword, right? You've watched me long enough. You've sparred with me long enough, all right? Pick up that sword and let's help fight that battle. Or on the negotiating side, which the knights are, okay, this is how you are supposed to be in this situation, all right? Don't give them any ideas or facial expressions or anything like that. Just understand, how to negotiate through this so you can get yourself out of that situation. And then when you're done, go report back to the king. So the pages are always learning. They're always, hanging around the knights. And then the knights are always reporting back to the king, whether that's male or female. Okay, there's still that challenge down here, okay? But, you're standing up for yourself. You have you've transitioned. But there's still a lot of Stones energy down here. There's 1, 2, it's the 4th out of the 7 cards. So, with that stone energy, again, you're getting more security, you get more stability, right? You're moving forward. And this page he's bringing a message to you, okay? That everything's moving forward as planned, okay? That you don't have to worry about, the Page of Arrows or anything like that. You're still secure, you're still stable. Now you're doing that with your thoughts. Now you're doing that with the questions you're asking, at work or in a relationship, hey, honey, what do you think we could do better? Just out of the blue, just ask that. So you're significant. What do you think we can do better to, strengthen our relationship? Maybe it's going on vacation. Maybe it's taking a weekend for ourselves, and taking off. Maybe it's just simple as, hey, just hold my hand while we're going for a walk. And that, that opens up, that when you open up that dialogue and that questioning, all right, that, shows you care, and that gives you a little bit of security and stability. But it's got to be both ways. It just can't be, one-sided, all right? Because you're going to have to work hard, to maintain a relationship. You're going to have to work hard to have a successful career, right? But if you do that with common sense and you enjoy to learn and you be authentic, everything's going to go smooth. So that's today's card of the day out of the Wildwood Tarot deck. Hit that like button for me. Subscribe to the channel, share with others, and give me a thumbs up. It's the Page of Stones on Lynx. And this is D for Spirit's Path. We'll talk to you tomorrow. Take care. God bless. Stay safe, everybody.